Bree grabbed her strongly and pressed her upper body. Their love was wild like never before. Madhu's body also craved her. She took off her t-shirt in between the wave of kiss and kissed her again, pressing her hands against her body. Shallow moan escaped from her breath. The wave of lust between them was heavier than ever before, and they both churned within the love for each other. Rest of the night, there was no space for any talk or punishment or guilt or apology or ego. If anything lasted in the night, that was love. Morning, it was 6 when Madhu's eyes opened, hearing the voices of her relatives outside. All the relatives were getting ready for the wedding. It was Christmas Day. Madhu looked at Bree, who was asleep. She blushed, recalling the love-filled night. She felt embarrassed herself for all the bold acts she did with Bree, hiding her face under her knees. But she liked all that. She thought she would get ready before Bree wakes up. By kissing her cheek, she slid from the bed. Instantly, Bree held her hand and pulled her back. Madhu fell on the top of her and got shocked. "You weren't asleep?" she asked in shock. Bree smiled and nodded with no. "I woke up before you and was watching you asleep," she said, pushing Madhu's hair back behind her ears and caressing her cheek. Madhu smiled, staring at her. "Merry Christmas," Madhu softly wished and kissed her. "Merry Christmas," Bree wished back, kissing her. "What shall I gift you?" Madhu asked. "I already got it last night," Bree whispered. Madhu blushed, hiding her face in Bree's neck. "Please don't talk about that," she whispered shyly. "Why?" "It was amazing. I loved every moment of it," Bree softly said, caressing her back. Madhu nodded in her neck shyly, with no words. Bree smiled with her blush. She slid her hand under her neck and held her face. Madhu was blushing as she was awfully embarrassed for many things that she did the previous night and never thought that she could do them all. But Bree was enjoying everything, her mischief love in the previous night and her love-filled blush in the morning. "We should get ready as the beautician will knock on the door any time," Madhu said, shyly getting up from the bed, but Bree pulled her again and kissed her. They both took bath together and got dressed with lots of romance in an hour. Bree observed all the hickeys on Madhu's neck and chest. She loved watching her love bites on her. They were the marks that displayed that she owns her, but Madhu didn't observe her love bites yet. Madhu also had seen the love bites that she gave to Bree in her neck while taking bath, but they were covered in Bree's full collar kurta. Bree wore her dress of peacock green-yellow combo. Madhu got ready wearing a navy blue and red combo grand silk half sari. She went before the mirror, adjusting her sari, and there she noticed all the hickeys, which displayed Bree's love all around her neck and chest in her deep neck blouse. She stood stunned seeing them and got worried how she would go out with them. Bree held her waist from behind, kissing her neck, and whispered, "Those marks show that you are mine." Madhu blushed hearing her. Bree smiled and made her sit on the table. She took all the makeup items and covered the hickeys one by one. Madhu was staring at her when she was covering her love marks. "Now that beautician will come, she or no one will make out you have these marks," Bree said, smiling at her. Madhu got up and went to the wardrobe and took out the box from inside. She came to her and opened the box that had a nice gold bracelet and a branded watch. Taking them out, she put a bracelet in right hand of Bree and made her wear the watch in her left hand. She wished her Merry Christmas and a happy month-anniversary, Munchkin, and placed a peck on her lips. Bree watched her, wondering, "How could you think what I think?" "What?" Madhu asked, wondering her lines. "Wait," saying Bree, went to her bag and opened a box. Also took off another box which was there in her bag of previous day. One box had a branded watch which she bought for her in the USA before coming. And in the previous day, Charan took her to their family showroom first, where she bought rings and other gifts for her mother, Betty and Hazel. And there she bought a heart pendant chain for Madhu. Charan wasn't taking money from her and told the cashier to bill that into his account. But Bree didn't agree to that, and Charan gave her a half-price discount. She took out the chain from her bag and placed that around the neck of Madhu and tied it, and whispered, "Merry Christmas and Happy Month-anniversary, my love," and kissed her. Madhu was amazed by her gifts. A month ago, they were married on the same day. She thought Bree might have forgotten that in the stress of her mother's incident, and moreover, she was surprised seeing how Bree thought of gifting a watch just like her. But Bree remembered everything. Their love was so pure for each other that they think alike and express the love alike, as they were the perfect two. In the meanwhile, the beauticians knocked on the door and both got ready for the wedding. When they stepped out of the room, all the relatives were stunned to look at the beauty of the couple. They both were complimenting each other. There was no single eye that took off from them. They were the center of attraction. Their beauty, elegance, gracefulness was breathtaking for everyone. The wedding of Chetan took place with all the customs. There were happy faces everywhere. Bree enjoyed watching and knowing all the Indian customs and traditions at his wedding. Charan accompanied Bree and Madhu throughout the wedding. The entire day was busy with all the wedding rituals. Bree didn't make any romantic moves to trouble Madhu, especially in front of Vanilla. But they didn't miss to stare at each other whenever their eyes met. The lady who asked Madhu for her son had met them again on the wedding day, and she reminded Shiva about her proposal. In the end of the day, Shiva asked Charan to initiate the talk with Madhu, as she was about to go back to America after 5 days before New Year, and they wanted to talk to her in person about the wedding proposal instead of video call or telephone. By the end of the day, the wedding got over with all happiness around. Main gents and ladies of the house were busy attending to the guests who were leaving to their respective habitats that day itself. It was a tiring day for everyone in the home after the wedding. Some of the guests slept in guest rooms early after coming from the hall, and rest all went to hotels. Bride side relatives also took a leave after the wedding. After the dinner, Vanilla and Radhika were busy arranging for the wedding night suite for Chetan and his newly-wed wife, Tejashri, in Chetan's bedroom. Charan was in a dilemma how to initiate talking to Madhu about the wedding proposal which came for her. He knows she hated marriage. Ever since Madhu came, she told him all the time how she hates the relatives who are talking about her marriage. After thinking a while, he thought he would take the help of Bree and talk to Madhu. Bree and Madhu changed in her room. Bree was totally in the mood of romance. She controlled all her desires in the entire day, just by gazing at her lovely wife and doing nothing. Even Madhu wanted her love and attention after a long, tiring day. Bree pulled Madhu, kissing her, and shy Madhu was pushing her away, running here and there inside the room just to tease her. Bree caught her and pushed her against the wall, holding her waist, leaning towards her face. "You were stunningly sexy and hot today, and I want to cherish the last night kind of romance with you again," she whispered. Madhu blushed in her arms. Bree sighed in her blush, smiling. She kissed her neck and rolled her face in and around her neck. A long moan skipped from Madhu's breath in the warmth of her love. Bree always loved that, and she initiated kissing her by holding her hands in her hands and pressing them against the wall. In the meanwhile, there was a knock on the door. They got separated and looked at each other, thinking who is disturbing them. Bree's eyes were showcasing the disappointment for that disturbance. Madhu shyly smiled, looking at her. She stared at her and gave her a peck and went to answer the door. It was Charan on the door. "Hi, hope you girls weren't asleep. he said, smiling at Madhu. Madhu smiled at him, leaning on the door, and said, "Hi." "No, we just changed and were getting ready to sleep." Bree also smiled at him, greeting hi, and sat on the bed. Charan sighed and said, "I'm really sorry to disturb you girls. I wanted to talk to Brianna personally, if you both don't mind." Hearing that, Madhu and Brianna squeezed their eyebrows, thinking, what is he up to? They both thought whether he was planning to propose to Bree. Madhu took him aside and softly asked, "Hey Emiti, ఈ టైంలో నువ్వు ఆమెతో మాట్లాడేది? రేపు మాట్లాడవచ్చు లేదా నాకి చెప్పు ఏ మాటని, నేను తరువాత చెప్తా దానికి. ఆమె చాలా టైర్డ్ అయింది." "What do you want to talk to her at this time? You can talk to her tomorrow. Or tell me what you want to say. I will tell her. She is already tired," Madhu said with pauses in a worried tone, as she had seen him staring at Bree and liking her all these days. And she didn't wish to break the heart of her loving brother. She felt he might express his feelings to Bree. "Adi personal, niku cheppalenu." "That is personal, can't tell you," he said and came inside the room, pushing her aside. Madhu followed to stop him, but he came before Bree and asked, "Hey Brianna, could you please walk with me to the terrace? I need to talk to you about something very important," he said with an instant after coming inside the room. Bree was surprised to hear that, and she looked at Madhu, who stood behind him and made gestures to say no. He turned back and saw her making gestures. Nodding his head, he looked at Bree and said, "Don't bother her. Please, I won't take much time, and don't worry, you will be safe. A gentleman's promise. It's very important, Bree. Please," he begged by joining hands and making faces at her. Bree had mixed feelings, thinking about what Madhu told her, but she couldn't deny his request and walked with him. Madhu waved her hand from the back and nodded with no. Charan looked at her, squeezing his eyes, and said, "I am not going to eat your friend. I'm just asking for her 5 minutes. That's it." Hearing him, Madhu stood silently and Bree followed him, smiling and thinking what she has to answer in case he expresses his feelings. After going on the terrace, Charan asked Bree to sit on the chair and said, "See, I don't like to talk round and round. I'll just come to the point." Bree's worry increased hearing that, but she held the patience and kept the silence to hear him. "See, I know Madhu hates to get married. Whenever the proposals come for her, she made excuses of studies. Of course, she is good at studies and wishes to achieve something in her life. She is ambitious. And one thing for sure, she never liked any boy or man, otherwise she would have told me first." He paused, looking at her. Bree was unable to make sure what he was up to. She kept on looking at him for the clue. The thing is, ever since she came back, many of the relatives wished to see her as their daughter-in-law. And one proposal is very good, and her family wishes she should get married to that boy as she will be happy with him. Since I am close to her in the family, everyone gave this responsibility to me to talk to her. And I have always been supportive for her goals, and I'm not comfortable to talk to her about the thing which she hates. So I need your help in this. Can you talk to her and tell me what her feelings are for marriage?" Bree's mouth was wide open in shock hearing that. Where she thought Charan might ask her out, and here he came with the plan to take her wife away from her and give her hand to somebody whom her family liked. Madhu had followed them slowly, thinking she could handle the situation if things go wrong, and overheard everything that Charan said from the terrace door. She got shocked hearing that. "You are saying that I should talk to Madhu about her marriage proposal?" Bree confirmed from Charan, sighing from the shock. "Yes, because I know she hates it if anybody in the family talks about her marriage. And you are her best friend. She never liked any of her friends the way she likes you. So I think you are the right person to talk to her," Charan said, making his point. Mumbling, Bree walked out from the terrace. She was annoyed. Her anger was not on Madhu or Charan or any of their family members. Her anger was on the situation and society. She knows that anybody would think to marry a girl like Madhu. Being a girl, she fell in love with her. For the opposite gender, there would be a line to marry her. She didn't see Madhu, who hid near the terrace door while walking to her room. Madhu understood the feeling of Bree. She felt like talking to Charan, but she cared for Bree more that time and ran to her. Bree looked around for Madhu in the room, and when she didn't find her, she sat on the bed thinking about the scene that happened a couple of minutes ago. Madhu entered the room and closed the door. There was pin-drop silence in and out of the room. She slowly walked to Bree and sat before her on the bed. Bree looked at her and then to another side. Irritation filled with a touch of anger adorned her face. Madhu kept her hand on Bree's hand. "I heard it all," she softly said. So what are you going to do?" Bree asked in an annoyed tone. Munchkin, seeing Madhu, came close to her. Bree got up from the bed and stood near the window, tying her hand, gazing at the lights out of the house which decorated their lawn in the night. Madhu walked to her and hugged her from the back and whispered, "Don't worry. I'm feeling sleepy," saying, Bree took off her hands and went to the bed and closed her eyes. Madhu followed her on the bed and cuddled in her sleep. Bree slept instantly like a baby. But Madhu stayed awake for a couple of hours, thinking about avoiding the proposals and how to come out to her family. She cursed the relatives for ruining their happiness by getting an unwanted proposal for her. In morning, everyone got ready to go to the family deity temple to finish the rituals after marriage. Her aunt knocked on the door early in the morning and asked Madhu to get ready. But she wasn't in the mood to go as Bree was upset. Bree woke up along with Madhu. She said she had a headache. Bree didn't sleep properly the previous night. She woke up at midnight and kept on staring at Madhu in the fear of losing her. But she didn't reveal her stress to Madhu. But Madhu observed that she was still upset as she wasn't talking much to her. Madhu tried numerous ways to cheer her up, but failed. She thought she would go to the temple and pray for the help of God. She requested Bree to go along with her, but Bree didn't feel like going anywhere, and she asked Madhu to go along with her family. Anyhow, she had some business work on the laptop. With no option left, Madhu went to the temple. After all the rituals in the temple, Madhu was praying in front of God for help and observed a known face walking in the temple. Madhu followed that person and was dazed seeing that person was talking to her new sister-in-law Tejashree. They were talking to each other in the temple premises, under the big banyan tree. Tejashree was accompanied by her cousins. After a while, they both hugged. That person gave a gift pack to her, taking that Tejashree walked away from her along with her cousins. Wondering all that, Madhu walked towards that person. It was none other than the lady whom she met in the flight, who said her name is Sutradhar. "We meet again," the lady said, smiling at her. Madhu stood with no words, nodding her head. The lady said, "I am the elder sister of Tejashree. My family banned me because I loved a girl, and I said I will not marry anyone but her. From the last 10 years, I have been away from home. I come to India every year and meet my sister and cousins hiding from my family, as their love for me never changed. Now, I came to India by preponing my business meeting so that I could attend Teju's wedding. I came to the wedding hiding from everyone in my family. Tonight I was leaving for the UK, so I thought I will meet Teju once again here." Hearing her, Madhu was shocked. "When you gave me your visiting card at the airport, then only I came to know that you must be the relative of my sister's new family. And as expected, I saw you at the wedding. and came to know you are the only sister-in-law of my sister. And I also saw a pretty foreigner with you. I believe that is Bree?" Smiling, "So I assume Bree is free from her troubles." The smart lady assumed everything rightly, winking at her. Madhu smiled, blushing, hearing the name of Bree, and nodded. After a while, Madhu told her everything that happened in those days. The lady asked a question, which stunned her and solved all her problems. Smiling, she shook hands with Madhu to take her leave. Madhu asked, "You are married and living with that someone special for whom your family left you?" "No, I'm living with her memories. She married someone else," she said. Madhu was shocked to hear that. "And you are still away from your family?" Madhu asked. "Yes, because my family wanted me to get married to a man of their choice, but I can never think about anyone but her. So they banished me for life." She smiled, looking at her. "And what about her? Is she happy in her married life?" Madhu asked. "She is no more." She looked at the other side. "What?" Madhu got shocked. After a year of her marriage, she was 9 months pregnant. She called me one night and spoke to me for the whole night. And after 2 days, I got news from my sister that she died in labor pain and her newborn baby also didn't survive, she said, and a tear fell from her eye. Hearing her story, Madhu felt miserable. Tears fell from her eyes too. But the lady smiled and held the cheeks of Madhu, wiping her tears. "But I wish you and Bree always live happily ever after. And the pain that I and my love suffered should end with us. And all those who are in love with each other, no matter of gender, should live together happily." She smiled. Madhu held her hands and hugged her. After a while, she said, "Your family might be searching for you. You should go now." "At least now tell me your name, or should I ask my Vadina, sister-in-law?" Madhu asked, smiling at her. "Srinija," she smiled and walked. Madhu stood looking at her until she disappeared in the crowd. Madhu was sad, thinking about the story of Srinija and worried about what will happen in her and Bree's life.